no one will. How many are glad to know that the good God is on our side today? Hallelujah. Hallelujah. He's here for you. He's in the room today. And somebody came with an expectancy this morning. Somebody came with a desire in their heart to be closer. Don't leave the same way you came in.
blessed me through day and night. And I'm glad of that. And I'm thankful that the Lord has given me a place where I can eat, a place where I can stay, a place where we have a house over our head, a source of our feet, including food and water. And if we make this world a better place, we can make the world a better place with a better God, but still with God. We can make the world a better place if we all believe in Jesus.
Amen.
I love his testimonies. Amen. I can't wait about 15 years from now to see what God's going to do. Amen. And don't know me as a life. How many of you see it? I see it.
Yeah.
Amen. We know that God is going to use him. Amen. At such a young age, just the fire that he has. It's not too often that when testimony service is going on that he don't have something to say.
Yeah.
Amen. That's the dogs. Amen. Come on up, yes.
Good morning, or good afternoon. I'm usually not one to speak out of time, but I do have a couple testimonies. The first one is I did get a promotion recently. Prayers against me. Because I have a testimony. I lost my uncle this week, but I'm thankful that I got time to spend with him. After my father passed, I kind of cut my family off on my dad's side. Feel like if I wasn't close to them, it would have hurt so much when I lost them. But it doesn't matter. It still hurts. Last year I had the opportunity to visit with him and go to Canada to visit my brother. And I'm just thankful that I was able to pay for that trip for him and spend that time with him. We reconnected, and so when I go home, I'll be able to visit with my family. And so I'm just thankful to God that, he didn't give up on me. And they're excited to see me, and I'm excited to see them. So I just thank God for this opportunity for me to even be able to do that. I'm just thankful, and it's just, it's just to be breathing to know that this song touched me so much. Because I wrote a prayer while he was in the hospital, and the last line I wrote was "Victory belongs to Jesus." I'm just thankful for that.
Good afternoon, everybody. I actually have a story that y'all will sit here and listen for 4 or 5 hours, but I'm going to try to do the Twitter version. Some of you might know me, some of you might not. I came here as a jazz singer for the jazz club. And afterwards I stayed, and I'm still singing about it and stuff. And I've been trying to get here, believe it or not, for 2 years. I've been out here thinking I was supported by some, but I think a whole lot of betrayal, a whole lot of stuff or whatever, but my testimony today is that God gave me the insight and the strength to find the God in me and to realize that no matter what people might do or do to you or don't do for you, God, I'm just going to go ahead and share this because I was like looking for AA and all that. Alcohol was all in my life because, being in bars and, singing in bars and all those kinds of places, it just, it takes over more and more. And I was really I shared with my brother over here who invited me today that it got to the point that I was having 12 cocktails at 10 a.m., okay? And God, some things happened in my life I was so angry that they happened and so broken, but I realized that God, I'm still a work in progress, but He made those things happen to me so that I could stop and find Him and realize that all these things around me are not what's carrying me or taking me through all of this. And I'm still going through it, but it's Him and His strength. And I wasn't going to say nothing, but I wanted to share my testimony just to let you guys know I'm out here by myself, you know. No chicken child, thank you. No chicken child, thought I had man, thought I had this, thought I had that, but still, I'm okay because God is right there. So when everything else don't seem like it's for me, I just lay down on my bed, calm myself, and realize that He brought me here. He gave me a light to shine, a testimony to share. And so as long as you keep your eye on Him, everything's going to be all right, and I'm going to be a witness. So that's what
A lot of times we may get a little timid or confused, or we may don't understand why we have that burning desire to share. But a lot of times the testimony is not for you, it's for someone else in the room. So if you feel that need, please come down and share your testimony. You don't know who may be blessed, who may be pushed just that little bit closer to want to give their life to Christ. Amen.
I don't even know your name, but you're not by yourself. Just so that you're not even by yourself, because we welcome you with open arms and with the love of God. So,
A work in progress. How many are a work in progress? Amen. How many have arrived? Okay. All right. We're all a work in progress. We're growing and growing every day. Amen. And we grow better when we grow high together. Amen. So we thank you. Amen. It's been said before, you are not alone. Amen. We do it better when we do it together. That's something that my husband and I have been saying for all of our years of marriage. Amen. That we do it better together. And the saints, we do it better together. Amen. So get hooked up. Amen. Make sure we get your number. Amen. So when we have things, we can make sure you are with us. Amen. Amen. Want to hear that jazz voice too? Amen. We can hear a bit of peace. All of our first-time visitors. Amen. We have any first-time guests in the house today. Amen. So we want you to say, give us your name and where you're coming from. Amen. Thank you.
My name is Diane Moore. I'm coming from New York by way of Washington, D.C., by way of the world.
Good morning. My name is Franklin Johnson, and I'm coming from Alabama.
good morning. My name is Candace Lovelace. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Alan Sapp, and I'm coming up from Pensacola, Florida.
Happy Sabbath, everyone. My name is Amy Scott. I'm coming from Okinawa, Japan.
We don't believe in happenstance, right? I really believe that God orders our steps. Amen. You are meant, amen, to be here today. And we pray that something will be said or done that will bless your life forever. Amen.
How many of you know that you are loved and by God? It's been some years since I do a little bit of writing, but for years I've had writer's block. I mean, I'm talking, I cannot write anything. I'm trying to write songs and I'm just like, no, that's not it, that's not it, that's not it. And the other day
chapter 16. 1 Samuel chapter 16. When you get that, say amen. And while you're getting that, let's just give our praise and worship team and musicians a round. Let me tell you, if you don't know, they come out here a couple times a week and practice. But my goodness, didn't they sound awesome today? Yeah. And sometimes I'm like, don't be doing that right before I'm going to preach. I can't, y'all mess me up. I can't even, all right. That's wonderful. You all did great. Thank you. Let's go to the Word. 1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 1 reads, And the Lord said unto Samuel, How long wilt thou mourn for Saul? Seeing I have rejected him from reigning over Israel. Fill thine horn with oil, and go. I will send thee to Jesse the Bethlehemite, for I have provided me a king among his sons. And again it reads, I will send thee to Jesse the Bethlehemite, for I have provided me a king among his sons. Lord, we thank you, we honor you, we praise you, we lift your name up, we magnify you, there's none greater. Victory belongs to you, we thank you for your word. Speak to us. Use me as a willing, humble servant today, in Jesus' name. Please take your seats. Again, welcome to the Gospel Protestant service. We have a whole bunch of first-time visitors. My name is Minister Shama Mueller. I'm so grateful my wife and I, Patrice, we've been here for about a year and a half. But certainly, for you first-time visitors, this Gospel Protestant service, 1 o'clock service, we're coming up on our 1-year anniversary, I think in January. Thank you, the founder and overseer. We praise God for you and the faith that you had to hear the voice of the Word and the Word of God. And also, please come back. We're glad that you're here. Please, please, please come back. One of the things I've learned, I know recently we just celebrated Veterans Day. And we've got Thanksgiving coming up here. And I was trying, you try to find a theme. And God, I was walking up the stairs and I just heard God say, David and Goliath. I said, all right, David and Goliath. I don't know what that has to do with Veterans Day or Thanksgiving, but we'll work with that. But through the week, as God spoke to me, and you've heard the story before. This isn't anything new. It comes from 1 Samuel 16 and 17. We'll go through that some today. I just want to frame it for you now and give you some other supporting scriptures so that we can just re-emphasize some of the themes that we may not have gotten the first time or the second time or the third time we read it. And also just look at some of the cultural contexts and see how they apply still today. And as always, the main character is who? Jesus. Jesus is always the main character. There's some supporting characters, but you'll see as we go through that, Jesus is always the main character. I do want to read a few scriptures though as we go. 23rd Psalm, you've heard this. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. That's the 23rd Psalm. And also known as the Psalm of David. We'll come back to that. Also want to just touch real quick on Matthew. Oftentimes we overlook the genealogies, but I just want to set a foundation. Matthew chapter 1, verse 1, and then I'm going to jump down to verses 17. The book of the generation of Jesus Christ, listen to this, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Verse 17, so all the generations from Abraham to David are 14 generations, and from David until the carrying away into Babylon are 14 generations. And from the carrying away of Babylon into Christ are 14 generations. And lastly, for your hearing, Ephesians chapter 6, verse 11 through 13.
It says, put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil.
Yes.
Verse 12, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day. And having done all to stand, verse 14 says, stand therefore, having loins girded about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness. And continues. I just want to stop right there, but I want to go ahead and set a foundation for you. Just tell you where we're at in 1 Samuel, and why this is important to us today. Why it was important then. Again, this is before, about 1,000 years before Christ came. In fact, the issue was the Philistines. They were a people that originated from Crete, which is down just south of Greece. They were a seafaring people, meaning they had boats, ships, sailed. They eventually made their way to Canaan, which right now today is just the western coast of Israel, just north of the Sinai, in that area, Philistine. As they settled there, they wanted to continue going towards the mountains. Now, again, Israel is a very young nation. And if you know Samuel, this is from the book of Samuel. Samuel, around this time, and again, this is after the Abrahamic covenant. This is after everything that happened in the early part of the Old Testament. The Abrahamic covenant in Genesis, where God promised Abraham that his seed would be blessed. He promised them the promised land, if you remember, as well as numerous offspring that can't be counted, and blessings. Part of the provision of that was the sign, which was circumcision. That was part of the requirement to receive and to walk in that blessing. So Samuel, at this point, was one of the last judges, and actually was one of the first major prophets. But what's so significant about the prophet Samuel was he was wise. In fact, he was humble. In fact, he was one of the most obedient prophets that we'll read in the Bible. And if you remember Samuel's parents, Elkanah and Hannah, if you recall, Hannah was barren. Do you remember? I think her name means grace. But God graced her, and God blessed her after she prayed for a child, and that child was Samuel. And they were so appreciative at this time for God blessing them with this child. Samuel, they dedicated him to God. In fact, it reads that they actually gave him to a priest, Eli, Shiloh, and Eli eventually raised Samuel, and Samuel dedicated his life. And what's also important about this time period, if you just look and see, a certain amount of faith is required today. And we have the word here. We know the word, we understand Christ came. He's already given us a new covenant. But in those times, just think, the requirement to be faithful and to trust God was ever so important. In fact, God had not come yet. God spoke directly during those times to the prophets, so they were very powerful. In fact, that was how most of the word of the Lord came. In fact, most of the texts recorded in Greek or Aramaic from scribes who were listening and watching what the prophets were doing during this time. So I just want to set the stage. But what's also important, and it's also a little unfortunate about Samuel, was that he had two sons, Joel and Abijah. Now what's unfortunate about them two is that they were wicked. They were actually in line to follow after their father Samuel as a judge. But they were just so corrupt that people wanted a king. And again, this is the early part of Israel, the kingdom. Samuel at the time, a prophet, prayed, he was obedient to God, and he anointed a king at that time. And there were those times, the anointing actually followed a pouring of oil, and then they were anointed, and then God would actually come into the presence and touch that person and be with that person. And that person, that first king that Israel anointed was Saul, and it's important, we'll talk about him more. What's also important to know about Saul is that he was tall and handsome. Hello, tall and handsome. What's also important to remember that is that it's not always what's on the outside. Amen. God looks on the inside. We'll hear about that more when we get to David. Well, it's also important to know that Samuel warned Saul numerous times. Samuel, in chapter 15 and 16, warned the people. One of the last things he did was warn them about their idol worship. Even as Saul had been anointed king, Samuel continued to pray and trust and advise Saul and the people. Unfortunately, Saul made some mistakes. He was disobedient to Samuel. And when you're disobedient to a prophet, during those times, that means being disobedient to God. But one of the things that Saul did that was disobedient to Samuel the prophet was when Saul was fighting the Amalekites, Samuel told Saul specifically to kill everything, offspring, children, animals. But Saul and his people got a little bit greedy, so they're like, hey, what's that over there? A cow? That looks good. We don't want to kill it. Let's take it all back. And because of that disobedience, God, at that moment, rejected Saul. And as we go into the 16th chapter of Samuel, this is kind of where it begins. That's just kind of a framework to let you know that Samuel and Saul weren't friends. Samuel was the prophet. Saul was the king anointed. Because of Saul's disobedience, God rejected him. God was backing away, and he was looking for a new king. In come David. In come David. Again, verse 16 says, And the Lord said unto Samuel, How long wilt thou mourn for Saul? Seeing that I rejected him from reigning over Israel, fill thine horn with oil, and go, I will send you to Jesse the Bethlehemite, for I have provided me a king among his sons. Verse 2, and Samuel said, How can I go? If Saul hear it, he will kill me. And the Lord said, Take an heifer with thee, and say, I am come to sacrifice to the Lord. Verse 3, Call Jesse to the sacrifice, and I will show thee what thou shalt do, and thou shalt anoint unto me him whom I name unto thee. And Samuel did just that which the Lord spoke, and came to Bethlehem, and the elders of the town trembled at his coming, and said, Comest thou peaceably? And he said, Peaceably I come to sacrifice unto the Lord. Sanctify yourselves, and come with me to the sacrifice. And he sanctified Jesse and his sons, and called them to the sacrifice. So what's happening here is that, again, Saul doesn't know about all what's going on. God is speaking directly to Samuel, and telling Samuel, you're the prophet. I rejected Saul, you know that. I found a new king for my nation. I want you to go and anoint him. Samuel, who's a prophet, he's like, look, I know, what about Saul? What if he hears about me doing this? Because, I know they didn't have the internet or Twitter or Facebook, but people still talk, right? God instructed him to go into the town and told him to take a heifer with him as a sacrifice. And when he went there, it's interesting to know, he went to the town called Bethlehem. He went to Bethlehem, and that's notable because, this is really a comparison between, Christ, who would eventually come and would be born where? In Bethlehem. So now Christ, God is just looking for a king. He's already taught, he already knows who he wants, he already has him pointed out, but Samuel just doesn't know. He will know, but he just has to be obedient first. And as he goes into this town, it's interesting, the elders of the town, they were kind of nervous. In fact, it said that they were trembling at his coming. And they asked him, Comest thou peaceably? The reason why that's important is because during those times, a prophet coming to your town wasn't just a simple thing, it just won't that's like, a major event, like the Secretary of Defense or somebody big or somebody coming. And they were concerned, usually when a prophet came to your town, that often meant judgment, right? So they were concerned. Samuel said, relax, calm down, just go and come peacefully, sanctify yourselves, go get Jesse, tell him to come here, we're about to do a sacrifice. Verse 6, I just want to read through a little bit. And it came to pass that when they were come, that he looked unto Eliab and said, surely the Lord's anointed is before him. But the Lord said to Samuel, look not on his countenance or on the height of his stature, because I refused him. For the Lord seeth not as man seeth. For man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. And going down to verse 12, and he sent and brought with him in now, and this was David, after he had already gone through. So Samuel, let me just set the stage for you again. Samuel is with Jesse. Jesse has 8 sons. The youngest son is David. Samuel's obedient to God. He goes to anoint the king. He just doesn't know which one of the 8 boys is going to be the king. So Jesse says, hey, y'all start coming in one by one, and we'll see which one of y'all know amount to something, basically, you know. So they come in, and Samuel's like, hearing from God, no, he's not the one. He's gone through all of his sons who Jesse thinks like, these are my 7 sons, you know, is not one of them. And Samuel at the time, in verse 11 says, are here all thy children? And Jesse says, there remaineth yet the youngest, and behold, he keepeth the sheep. And Samuel said unto Jesse, send and fetch him, for we will not sit down till he cometh. And verse 12 says, and he sent and brought him in. Now he was ruddy, and withal of a beautiful countenance, and a godly and goodly to look at. And the Lord said, arise, anoint him, for this is he. Verse 13, then Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the midst of his brethren. And the Spirit of the Lord came upon David from that day forward. So Samuel rose up, and he went to Ramah. In verse 14, but the Spirit of the Lord departed from Saul, and an evil spirit from the Lord troubled him. So what's important to note, and what the Lord told me about this, and kind of put on my spirit, is that, you know, don't despise humble beginnings. David was a sheep herder. And I think I preached a message a few weeks ago about the power. I didn't know if I wanted to tell this giants at the gate or the power and the purpose of preparation. But what's important to note here about David is that after Samuel anointed David king, David went back out to the field. He didn't stand there and say, okay, well, I'm king now. Okay, I'm ready to go. Let's do this. What we got? You know, what was going on? No, he was humble. He was submissive. He didn't move faster or beyond what God wanted him to move. In fact, he was simply a humble servant. And what's so notable about this is that, you know, the older brothers who were in the house, who were bigger, older, they were prepared. They thought they would be king, but they weren't. And one of the interesting things about it is, it goes on to verse 18 in chapter 16, then answered one of the servants after Saul had this evil spirit that God had actually put on him. Saul says, one of the servants says in verse 16, let our Lord, or Saul, command thy servant, which is before thee, to seek out a man who is a cunning player of the harp. And it shall come to pass when the evil spirit from God is upon thee, that he shall play with his hand, and thou shalt be well. Verse 17, and Saul said unto the servants, provide me now a man who can play, and bring to me. Then answered one of the servants, and he said, behold, I have seen the son of Jesse, the Bethlehemite, that is cunning in playing and mighty valiant, and a man of war, prudent in matters, and a comely person, and the Lord is with him. What's important to note about this part of the passage is that at this time, David is anointed king. He has not begun to walk in that calling of king, but he's been anointed king. What's also important to know is during the times, David was not only anointed, but as we read, he was also talented. Amen? He could play the harp. You'll hear about his other talents later on with the slingshot. But he was also obedient, and he had a heart of God. And later on, as David came to Saul and stood before him, he loved him greatly. And Saul said to Jesse, saying, let David, I pray thee, stand before me, because I found favor with him. And as David began to play, the evil spirit would eventually go away and leave. So at this point, David's been anointed king. Saul doesn't really know that just yet, but he just knows that this young man is talented, he's blessed, and Samuel's gone. He's already anointed, did what he was supposed to do, and left. But as we talked about earlier on, the Philistines were there, and during that time, again, Saul was the first king of Israel, and Israel was still in its infancy. On the west coast, if you ever look at a map of Israel, there's a coastal plain where the Philistines were. Their plan was to move inland to the mountain range near Bethlehem and actually divide the kingdom. There's a series of valleys that run from the coast to the mountains that are filled with forests and wheat and grains and a lot of growing. And that's really the only way, truly, without a compass, that you can get from the coast to the mountains, is just follow those series of valleys. So their strategy was to follow those valleys and go. Once King Saul, who was still the king, heard about this, he immediately took his army, the Israeli army, and went down to meet them. And verse 17 says, "Now the Philistines gathered together their armies to battle, and were gathered together in C.O.G.I.C, which belonged to Judah, and pitched between C.O.G.I.C and Ezekiah, and Ephes. And Saul and the men of Israel were gathered together and pitched by the valley of Eleph, and set the battle in array against the Philistines. And the Philistines stood on the mountain on one side, and Israel stood on the mountain on the other side." So it's also important to note here is that warfare was much different then. I know at the time there were really three main types of warfare. There were your cavalry, who were mounted, and they were on both armies. They had what's called artillery. When we think of artillery, they were indirect something. And these were your archers or your slingshots. And then you had just regular foot soldiers, or those who had swords and shields and, were ready just walking on foot for battle. What's also important to note here is that the north side of there's a valley, there was a mountain ridge on each side. On the north was the Israelites, and on the south were the Philistines. And they were in a deadlock or stalemate state. So if you know anything about tactics, one of the things you don't want to do is, give yourself, or expose yourself too much. So what we see here is that, there's a battle going on, but nothing's happening. On the north, Israel's there and looking, and on the south, the Philistines are looking back, and they begin to taunt them, and they begin to stand there, and nothing's happening. But if any one of the armies had gone down into that valley, they would have just been dead. It was a stalemate. So in my research, one of the other things I learned is that they would do something called single combat, which is a man-on-man thing. And when both armies knew, or if both fighting parties or warring parties knew that it was going to be a bloodbath, essentially, they would say, okay, you pick your best man and we'll pick our best man. And this is where Goliath and David come in. Now, in our modern vernacular, you hear that word or that phrase, David and Goliath, and you always think about maybe an impossible battle or impossible fight. But I want us to kind of rethink that, because even though there was an underdog, it wasn't David, I promise you. Amen, it was not David. In fact, verse 4, it says, "And there went out a champion at the camp of the Philistines named Goliath. And he had a helmet of brass upon his head, and was armed with a coat of mail with the weight, and the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of brass." I'm going to cut across the field here. I think I had about 10 minutes. Verse 8, "And he stood and cried unto the armies of Israel, and said unto them, Why are ye come out to set your battle awry? Am not I a Philistine, and ye servants of Saul? Choose you a man for you, and let him come down to me." So this is also symbolic of, a bully and of Satan and what he likes to do. He likes to come in, from the very beginning, his plan was to come in and steal, kill, and lie, and to destroy, and to cause fear, which is the opposite of faith. Verse 11, the Bible reads, when Saul and all the Israelites heard those words from the Philistine, they were dismayed and afraid. It immediately caused them to forget about everything that God had already taught them. Verse 12, now David was the son of an Ephraimite of Bethlehem, Judah, whose name was Jesse. Verse 13, and the three eldest sons of Jesse eventually went on and would go to the battle. So every day, for about 40 days, the same occurrence would happen where, Goliath would come out and say something, and the Israelites were afraid. And David, the son of Jesse, his main job was just tending sheep. He was already king. He wasn't planning on fighting. But it's important to note here that at the time, Jesse had a plan to put David down there near the battle just to find out what was going on. So one day, Jesse told David, hey, I want you to take, some food and stuff, go check on your brothers, go find out what's going on, and come back and let me know what's going on. David being obedient. And again, another important thing here is that, not only should we not despise humble beginnings, but when God has already anointed us for something, but we haven't already been walking in where God knows He wants to take us, be patient, be humble. David rose up early that morning and left the sheep with the keeper and took everything that Jesse had commanded him to take. Verse 21, for Israel, the Philistines had put the battle in array, meaning they were just at a stalemate. Verse 25, and the men of Israel said, have ye seen this man that come up surely to defy Israel? Verse 26, and David spoke to the men and stood there, saying, what shall be done to the man that killeth this Philistine and taketh away the reproach of Israel? And then David goes on to say those famous words, who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? And that right there is what I call God confidence, amen? And that's what we need. In fact, when you hear the word uncircumcised Philistines, what that really meant was that anyone who had not had a covenant with God, they were a pagan. They weren't a friend of God. They weren't in a relationship with God. And what David knew is that David understood the promises and the provision of the covenant. David knew that anyone who was circumcised, anyone who was a friend of God, would have promises. What were those promises? Do you remember? Long life, blessings, children, offspring, protection, and guidance. So David said, well, wait a minute. Who is this person? And why in the world is he taunting God? So David knew immediately that this wasn't a fight against Goliath, against him or any of the troops. This was Goliath against God. And God could use whoever he wanted to against that. And verse 28 says, and Eliab, his oldest brother, heard when he spake to these men. And Eliab was angry with David. So David's trying to figure out, hey, what's going on? Okay, well, that's interesting. And one of the other things David finds out when he goes down there is that Saul's men told David that, hey, whoever kills Goliath, I'll give you tax-free, you can live here. In fact, I'll let you marry my daughter. So David's like, he's a young man. He's like, all right, cool, wait a minute, hold up. All I got to do is defeat him. Well, I already know what the promises are. I already know who I am in God. I already know the power that's in me. I already know that I'm anointed. So David said, hey, I already know what I need to do. However, here's the thing you have to remember, and here's one of the other things that we have to keep in mind as Christians. We can be confident in God. We can know who we are in God and understand our purpose and walk in that fulfillment. And even though we're facing a Goliath, if you notice, one of the challenges that David had during this time was not just the fact that he knew the power that was within him from God, but he was also suffering from his brothers and some of the other men that were really with him, lacking the amount of faith that he had. So they were hating on him. He hadn't even done anything when they were hating on him. They're like, who are you? Why are you kept coming up here checking on us and trying to do anything? What do you got? So David's like, he's hearing all the chatter. He's like, I got it. So David said, to Saul, hey, let no man go up and fight him. I'll fight him. Verse 33, and Saul said to David, thou art not able to go against this Philistine to fight him, for thou art but a youth. And David said, thy servant kept his father's sheep, and came here, and came a lion and a bear, and took the lamb out of the flock. And I went out after him. And again, David goes on to say, I spoke him and delivered it out of his mouth. So this is David. I heard somebody give her a testimony today. Listen, sometimes the testimony isn't just for you. Sometimes somebody else needs to hear the victory that God's already given you. And so you can move forward. You can share that. I thank you all for your testimonies of faith. And that's what we need to do, is to continue to come here and tell ourselves to confess those confessions of our faith. That's what makes us whole. That's what makes us grow. That's what's so wonderful. In fact, going on to 38, I'm going to get through. I got about 5 minutes, 10 minutes? Okay. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to continue this. So verse 38, Saul armed David with his armor. This is important. And I'll come to a close a little bit after this. But I just want to get this point out. Saul began to arm David. Again, David's small. He's not a really big person. He's not big in stature. Saul was. And then David girded his sword about his armor, and he said, hey, look, man, I can't do this. This is too much. So in other words, the armor that Saul was put on David, which was Saul's, was too big for David. In fact, it was falling off of him. In verse 40 says, and he took his staff in his hand and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook, and he put them in the shepherd's bag which he had, even in a scrip and in the sling which was in his hand, and he drew near to the Philistine. So at this point, David tries on this armor. It doesn't fit him. He's like, forget it. I've got the faith. I know who I am. I know who God is. I know what his promises are. I know what the covenant is. I don't care who he says he is. But if I can fight him, I know God will be with me, because God's promised me life. In fact, if you go to Psalms 23, I remember we read that, where it says, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. And I believe David probably recalled this battle where he was fighting the Philistines, where he said, I'll prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. So moving right along, as David begins to fight and go towards the Goliath, going down to verse 45, and David said to the Philistine, comest thou to me with a sword and with a spear and with a shield, but I come to thee in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom thou hast defiled. And this is the day that the Lord will deliver thee into mine hand, and I will smite thee and take thine head from thee, and I will give thy carcass to the hosts of the air. Verse 49, and it came to pass, when the Philistine arose and came and drew nigh to meet David, and David hastened and ran toward the armor to meet the Philistine. David put his hand in his bag, took a stone, slung it, and smote the Philistine. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone. In verse 51, then therefore David ran and stood upon the Philistine, and took the sword, and drew it out of the sheath thereof, and slew him, and cut off his head therewith. And then the Philistines saw their champions dead, and then they fled. During this time, David, one of the things I noted about this story is that David, not at any time did he ever doubt. Not at any time, no matter what anyone else was saying, no matter what things looked like on the flesh, David knew who he was. In fact, during those times, some people believe that, it was a miracle that David hit Goliath in the head with that stone. But David did not accidentally hit Goliath. David meant to hit Goliath. In fact, some of the reading that I note about this last part of it before I close is that, David defeated Goliath. Amen. He defeated Goliath with the power of God. What's also interesting to note here historically is that when those type of battles occurred, most of the people who were stabbed didn't die right away. They actually had to go behind them after the battle was over and cut heads off. So that was common during those times. And God allowed me to see just in my own life, sometimes when we have Goliaths and we have battles that we fight, sometimes we defeat those things, but we don't kill those things, amen? And that's one of the things that God told me today is that we can't just go and defeat something, even in God's power. We have to go and kill it. Because sometimes, if you notice, for 40 days, as I close, for 40 days, this ordeal was going on. And uncircumcised Philistine, what he was saying was, what is the thing that is trying to tell me that the promises of God aren't real? What is the thing that is trying to come and bully me or to cause fear in my life? Really, this uncircumcised Philistine can be anything in our lives. Please stand with me as we close. I just came here to tell you today that, is there an uncircumcised Philistine in your life? And this can be anything. In this passage you read that it was a giant, and that's one of the easiest ways for us to see and understand, and I believe that. But in today's time, many of our giants, sometimes can be in our head. An uncircumcised Philistine can be our finances. Any challenge that sometimes causes us to think, maybe, well, I know what the Bible says, I know what the Word says, I know what God said, I know what His covenant says, but I want you to know that no matter what you're going through today, no matter what may be happening in your life, give it over to God. Victory belongs to Jesus. And victory belonged to Jesus then, and victory belongs to Jesus now. Whether it's your marriage, many of us are going through challenges in our career, many of us have challenges being away from home, many of us even have challenges just with other familial relationships that are challenges. That could be what God wants you to do today, is to look at that situation, or that problem, or that circumstance, or that giant and say, who is this uncircumcised Philistine? Because that's not what God promised me today. Amen? That's not what God promised me. I know what God promised me. He promised me life, health, and strength. He promised me victory. We didn't say there will be some challenges, but we have to go and we have to attack that same challenge with the same faith that David had. Not once did he doubt, not once did he waver. Even you had the naysayers and the haters, but David stood his ground. Amen. There's a lot of things that we take for granted sometimes, but even as an American, we have rights. There are certain rights that I know I have as an American. I know I have certain rights, even as a service member. And as Christians, we have rights. We have things that God's promised us. Amen. I just want to pray and as we go this time of year is always challenging, especially when we're away from home, we're away from family. But I just want to pray with you right now and just pray. If anyone has, the altar is open. If anyone has anything that you'd like to touch and agree with us on, any challenges, any problems, now is the time to come. We have our ministers here who will pray with you, who will touch and agree with you, and who will just believe the Word of God with you. Is there anyone that would like to come up now and receive prayer? Is there one? Is there one or two? Please bow your heads and let's pray. Lord Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, Lord God. Touch your people right now, Lord God. Lord God, anything that we have done or said today, forgive us, Lord God, as we go. Lord God, we know you know the problems, you know the need, Lord God. Even if it wasn't said today, Lord God, we ask you, Lord God, to go before each and every single person here, Lord God. Heal the broken heart. Touch the lives. Restore the careers that may have had a challenge, or restore the relationships that may have been hurt by misunderstanding, Lord God. Help us, Lord God, to be a light in a dark world. Lord God, we pray right now for our nation. Lord God, there ever was a time, Lord God, we needed you now, Lord God. All the challenges of the shootings and the violence, and Lord God, we pray for each and every family in California right now too, Lord God, that lost something or lost someone or that was lost, Lord God. We ask you, Lord God, just to touch each and every service member, each and every member here, Lord God. Bless them, Lord God. Keep them, Lord God. And we thank you, Lord God, right now for your word. hide it in our heart that we might not sin against you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
So we go through the announcements real quick. That was a good word. So the GPS praise team, we practice every Monday right here at the chapel at 1800. And if you can't make it, the Lawsons have the same setup in their house. So they do practice in their house also. Just get with them and they open up their home. They're very loving people. Thank God for them. We have Ironman that's going to go on Saturdays at 0900 at the Oasis Room. And we have a new teacher, Mr. James back there. Raise your hands so everybody can see. So we have the first chapter of Romans. We'll be going over Romans tomorrow at the Oasis Room at 9 o'clock. Saturday Sisters, that was in the chapel last week. Where y'all going to be? Officers Club at 09. So the sisters, same time the men is going through their word, the sisters are going through theirs also. Then we have Tuesday Bible study, Evangelist Joyner at 1830 right here in the chapel. We'll be here awesome time. Then look at the program. If you have a program, this is your invitation. We have the Thanksgiving dinner at my home. The address is here, there, so you put it in the GPS and come. You don't have to bring nothing but your appetite. You know, and starting at 1600, 4 p.m. Starting at 4 p.m. at that location. So let's come, and also after eating, we will have fellowship provided by the family. And anybody else that may want to sing a song or something like that, we'll have that whole setup at our house, and we're going to fellowship and cards and dominoes and whatever you want to do. We'll have an enjoyable time. So with that, if it's a potluck, we can just have a quick meeting for those who would like to bring a dish. So we'll have a quick meeting after service, so we make sure that we got enough dishes of enough variety of things. We'll be right here in 5 minutes, not that long. All right, anything else I missed? Okay, that's right. 5th Friday is Youth Day. You take over. So, I mean, they are awesome. These kids, you got the kids from 3 years old to 16, 17. And they got the mic and they are singing, you know, so it would be a very good treat. 5th Friday, they would take over the service, they would do everything, scriptures, prayers, songs, all that whole 9 yards.
Also on 5th Saturday, right? So we're teaching our children to serve in the house and then to serve outside of the house. So on that Saturday morning, at 10 o'clock, amen, they'll be helping to feed our workers out in town. More information is to come, but on Saturday mornings, right over here by Bahrain Specialty Hospital, they feed hundreds of our locals, some of our locals out there who don't have a lot of food. So teach them to serve in the house and outside the house. And then we're trying to plan something fun for them to do after they do their service outside. But if you know any youth, amen, that want to be a part of going out into the community and serving, only for about an hour and a half. It doesn't take long. They say usually the food is gone within 30, 40 minutes. But hundreds of people will come and be fed. So 5th Friday, they're serving the church, amen, singing, doing the scriptures and prayer, and then Saturday morning, go out into the community.
Amen. Amen.
Also, with the youth, our youth program that meets every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursdays.
I'm planning last year retreat was in Germany. This year we're having our local own retreat. Credo's going to be paying for it. And what I'm planning on doing is I'm planning on having a spring break retreat at the Art Rotana in Amwash. If you've ever been there, it's beautiful. The backside has their own private beach, old kids pool. So this is a weekend for your kids. Your weekend to be away, our weekend with your kids. If you want to volunteer, please see myself. Are you going to do this? Are you going to be? Education director. Okay, so if you want to be a volunteer, please. If you ever been to Credo, and you've ever been to a marriage retreat or a family retreat, they eat good. We got a program lined up for your kids, gospel program. It's gonna be a blast. If you ever been asking kids to ever come to my services, especially on Wednesday night, they eat good. We have fun. Amen. So if you know any kids that want to be involved, let me know. I can reach out to the parents and get them involved. It's not all preach. We preach, we teach, and we have fun. Amen. Because if you try to bury the gospel, they're going to forget everything. So you just feed them a little bit, let them play, feed them again, and eventually the word will be strong in their heads. Amen? Amen.
Because we do believe that we're not out here on this island alone. You know, this is not this is a desert, but we know we don't participate in that desert life. We like to be together, so you don't feel out alone and out there like nobody care about you. We care about you. So let's make sure that we can support all these programs for the kids and for you and everything else. Anything else that I forget? Let's stand and be dismissed. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, as we dismiss from your presence, this place is not your presence, Lord. We just thank you for the word. We just thank you for reminding us that who is that uncircumcised giant, Lord, that whatever comes up in our life, Lord, you have given us the victory to defeat it. We are already winners. You already paid the price on Calvary. The blood has already been shed. And we just want to thank you for that. And as we leave, we just say thank you to get us to our destination safe without even hurt, harm, and danger, to bring us back at a point in time. These blessings we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.